Well, all righty. So, as of now, our text system is down, so we'll be taking questions live at the end.
We're taking live questions, huh?
Yeah, at the end. Unless
Okay.
if something changes, I will let you know. So, don't text your messages. If something changes, I will let you know. Okay. All right. You're settled. Oh, go ahead and pray.
No, I'm just watching you. Okay.
Watching me, watching you, watching me. All right.
Let's go before the Lord in prayer, shall we? Heavenly Father, we do thank you and bless you, Lord, for this time that we have together. Lord, we know in your presence is where we find the fullness of joy, pleasure at your right hands. And so we know, Lord God, that as we're together, gathered as family tonight, Lord, that you're going to speak to every heart and that your word changes, transforms. And so we thank you that you're doing that in us, Lord, and it's going to affect the relationships that we have. We receive the wisdom of God by faith. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen, amen. All right, well, we are continuing our discussion that we started last week when we were talking about toxic relationships versus healthy relationships. Hope you guys had some time to think through your relationships and kind of assess where you are with your relationships and see which ones need to be adjusted, which ones are healthy. Hopefully we gave you some food for thought and see if you are the enabler or the perpetrator. For those of you who missed it, you can certainly go on to the Wheaton Christian Center Facebook page and be able to catch up on last week's series, because we're going to be continuing on from there where we're talking about toxic relationships versus healthy relationships. And tonight we are going to be giving you a tool. This is probably the art part of relationships. Last week was a little more sciencey stuff, but this is probably more of the art part of this area of how to deal with toxic relationships. And the topic is, we're going to be talking about the relationship house. This is something that's really I found useful and helpful. Those of us who were at the boot camp last year heard a little bit about this as far as guarding our hearts, but we've kind of taken it further and really seeing how it applies to our relationships. And this is something that I've even used in my own work and have found it to be very helpful and in helping people deal with relationships. Because there's some people in your life that you cannot cut off, right? Your family, they are there forever or until
They might get on your nerves, but they're going to be right there.
they're going to be right there.
And so you just have to learn how to deal with them.
Right. That's your biological family and also your church family. You can't divorce your church family. What are you going to do?
I think it's so important that we learn this, especially as believers, because right now, we have so many people that because they don't know how to do relationships, the only thing they know how to do is separate.
Yeah.
And when God calls you into a family, you don't just separate. And so we haven't learned how to handle relationships because every family has somebody crazy, and you know that person that's in your family that's crazy.
It could be you, but there's that crazy person.
Yes. and you love them, and you don't separate from them. And in the house of God, there are all different kinds and types and shapes, and there are various kinds of personalities that we have. And if we don't know how to deal with people, we'll just escape. But there's a way. You do it naturally in your family, and you have to do it naturally when you have coworkers that you have to learn how to coexist and how to live together and work together at least and be civil. And so these are our skills. These are techniques that we believe that are going to help you in dealing with relationships and understanding how they work. And so one thing I like about the principles, and this is something, Fiona, that we know that you talked about, you preached it, but it's just been one of those examples that we've been able to continue to unpack and see things. Um, we've identified some principles of the relationship house. And I think if you can, and this might be an exercise that you can do on your own. I'm not that much of an artist, but it's possible for you to do it on your own just to really process. But, you know, draw a house with the rooms, and then start to take the people in your life. Take your family, take your loved ones, take your friends, and begin to place them in various places of the house. And as you do that exercise, it's going to help you mentally how to better relate to people. Because we've discovered some principles of the relationship house. And when we say a relationship house, this is just an analogy. This is just a picture. This is just a mental tool to sort of put people in various categories of proximity. All right? This is the relationship house is just a mental tool that helps you. So it's not something that you need to go and tell somebody, hey, you're out my house, you're out my relationship. No, that's for you,
Right.
okay? But it's a tool, and the things that we're talking about, you see some of these principles in the Bible. In Luke chapter 10, verse number 1, you see Jesus, he sends out 70. He had 70 disciples. Most of us, we just think of the 12. But Jesus, I mean, there were 70. And he sent out the 70 two by two. Then when you got a little closer, you see in Matthew 10, you see the 12. And those are the groups that we're more familiar with. But in Matthew 17, when Jesus was transfigured, you remember he went to the mountain and he was transfigured. His clothes, the Bible describes them being whiter than any launderer can whiten them. And he took with him on the mount to pray only Peter, James, and John. In Mark chapter 5, when Jesus raised Jairus' daughter from the dead, he only allowed Peter, James, and John in the room. So among the 12, you see those who were at different levels of proximity in his life. And he didn't apologize for that. There were some
Right.
people that were closer to Jesus than others. Some people, Jesus had a closer relationship in the natural than others. And then you see in John's account, John 13, around verse 23, you see John, he calls himself the disciple that Jesus loved. And God allowed that to be canonized. And it's like when John wrote his gospel and he identified himself as he was the one that Jesus loved, it's like God was cool with it. And God was like, yeah. So you see John leaning at his breast and Jesus telling John secrets that he doesn't tell everybody else. He tells John, the one who would betray him. So although there are all these relationships, we see that there were people that were closer. You have the 70, you have the 12, you have among the 12, you have the 3, and then you have the disciple that Jesus loved. So the relationship house, having the ability to place people is healthy.
And it's obviously scriptural.
And we see it in the scriptures. Just to establish some principles, one thing, it creates boundaries. Boundaries are needed for any relationship to be successful. It's healthy for every relationship to have healthy boundaries. I'm thinking boundaries, they protect not only they don't not only protect you, but the boundary also protects the person that you're doing relationship with. And I think there's one classic example where Jesus is exercising boundaries in the relationship. You guys remember there was one time where Jesus was teaching, and while he was ministering, his mother and his brothers, they came. And while Jesus is ministering, they send word out to him, hey, your mother and your brothers, they're all outside and they want to see you. At that point, Jesus could have stopped everything. He could have stopped the message. He could have said, hey, everything stops now. My mother and my brother are outside and they want to see me, so you know, Jesus kept right on preaching. Jesus, in that moment, was establishing a clear place where the family that he was born into, the natural family, Jesus was fully man and fully God, the natural family, there was a place where that relationship did not apply. He established a tone where that natural relationship, there was a place for it, not here. There's a place for Jesus to relate to his mother and brother, and you see in John chapter 7, you see Jesus relating to his brothers. But Jesus was clear that while he's ministering, while he's functioning, while he is doing what God has called him to do, that wasn't the time for personal family business. So there are boundaries. And that was healthy because his natural family relating to him as they were, it would not work in that setting while he was ministering the word of God with authority. And so Jesus says, the person who hears my instruction and does them, that's my mother and those are my brothers. So he was making a clear line, a delineation between where his family's boundaries ended in that moment. So it's healthy. It's healthy. Your natural home, it provides a place of serenity. It's a place of safety, and it's a place of escape from those things that are toxic. Your home should be a peaceful place. You go home to get away from the rat race or get away from those things that are out there. Your house protects you from the rain, from the elements, and from things that are out there. And so even in relationship, when we understand the boundaries and the purpose of the relationship house, it provides a safe place. And also, your relationship house, your natural house is a place where you grow. It's a place where you learn. It's a place where you develop. It's a place where culture is formed, and you get to know yourself and others in the house. And so I want to share with you some principles of the relationship house. We talk about placing people in your relationship house.
And let me just stop and say, we're gonna go into more details about the relationship house, but we just want to set the foundation first. So when we go into it, it'll be easy for you to understand. Some of you are like, what's the relationship house? What is he talking about? But we just wanted to give you some principles so as we go into it. You have a clearer understanding.
It's going to make more sense as we go on.
Yeah.
As we go along. Again, we're talking about where people are placed in your life. And if people are out of place in your life, there is going to be frustration, and there is going to be the effects of toxicity in the relationship. There's going to be that impact, and sometimes it's simply because we have not placed people in the right place in relationship to us.
Right.
They're in a position in our lives that they don't belong. And when we place people in a position that they don't belong, tension can come as a result of that. And
Yeah,
so,
I was literally talking to one lady this afternoon dealing with the same issue. You know, we went through this before, but she kind of just allowed this person to wander into the wrong place in her relationship house. So she came in all in distress and, you know, anxious about this relationship. And I had to ask, where have you put this person in your house? It's like, okay, yeah, I'll let them, you know, just kind of sneak into a place where they shouldn't be. Because when people are in the wrong place in your life, it is going to cause distress. It is going to bring in toxicity in relationships where people are in the wrong place in your house. So think of a gas stove. It belongs in the kitchen. The ventilation, everything is there. That's where it belongs. If you put that in your bedroom, the likelihood is there's going to be all kinds of toxins released, gas, and we're going to find you passed out because that's not where it belongs. The stove belongs in the kitchen.
yeah, and maybe if you've ever had someone that is just nosy and you invite them to the house and then you find them in places that, what are you doing here? There is some anxiety there when you see people in places that they don't belong. That's the same way with your life. There can be a frustration, and sometimes we don't know how to deal with it or respond to that, but that person is sitting there in a place in our lives where they don't belong, and we've allowed them to be there, and we're uncomfortable. And that's why it's so important to the placement. So one thing we've discovered is that where people are placed relationally can be seasonal. They can be in one room for a particular season of your life, and as seasons change, they no longer fit in that same space. And so once a person is in a particular place in your life, it does not mean that they're always going to be there. And sometimes you'll discover if you're trying to just do things like you used to do, when they don't fit in that same space, there's going to be some frustration because, you know, they could have been there for that season. That's important to know. Seasons of life change. Situations, circumstances can change where people fit into your life. Sometimes there are certain behaviors that can demand space. Sometimes they're operating in one place, but then the rules of that space have been violated. And it might not be that you are totally kicking this person out of your life, but they no longer can stay in that room. All right? As a parent, sometimes the best place for my children is in their room. No, this is where you stay. Right now, there are some people who you need to be on a relational timeout with, and allow them to be in a different space in your life until there's a behavior that changes, or they can respect the rules of occupying a different space, a different place, a different room. So that's why, a doghouse was invented.
Right. And I think, when I think about behavior, I think of a situation where I had a conversation with someone. I had them in a particular place in my relationship house. Again, the relationship house is mental. It's how I organize my relationships in my mind. I had them in a place that was a little bit closer to, the master bedroom. We'll talk about that. You learn more about that. And this person came in, and they were on 10. The way they were talking to me, it's like, wait a minute. So my guards were down because this person belongs in this comfortable place. But then I had to mentally recalibrate. I'm like, I'm going
You have to recalibrate.
recalibrate in my mind.
Sometimes you got to be able to recalibrate. That's
Right.
good.
So as this person is talking to me, then I'll be like, okay. And I'm starting to feel attacked and anxious and like, wait a minute, I should not be feeling like this with this person. then I had to do this quick mental recalibration. I'm like, okay, I have them in this particular spot in my house, in my master bedroom, but I'm going to need to take them out to the living room or to the porch. This is where this conversation is going to need to be, because if I leave them in this space, I'm going to leave hurt, offended, violated, and I'm not about to do that. It's not worth it. So sometimes just based on that particular situation or behavior, you're going to have to move that person in your mind. Don't tell them anything, of course. This is just for you to protect your heart and to protect your own emotional health.
That's good. I'm amazed that you were able to do that quickly. You're able to self-assess and read yourself very quickly.
Well, it's important, because otherwise you find
good.
yourself getting into this argument over nonsense, and this person's dealing with their own stuff. I didn't need to go on the crazy train with them. I just realized, you know what? No, I'm going to need to take you out, because, you're contaminating my space.
And I think that's an important point, because what that means is that you have the power to place people in your relational house. You have the power to place them there. That is yours. That is for you to create the necessary space and position for this person in relationship to you. You have that authority and power.
Yeah, it's your house. It's
your house.
This
That's
is
right.
your own mental tool that you have to organize relationships. You have to be careful not to let people guilt you into being close to you or being in a particular space in your house. Because some people can work you, some people can buy you things, talk to you, do all these things, pour out their heart to you, expecting you to reciprocate, and then you don't, and then they make you feel guilty. Like, man, I've shared with you all my secrets, all my stuff, and you're like, okay, thank you. You're not getting any of mine, and that can leave that person feeling hurt. So again, but you don't need to be guilted into doing anything that does not feel right for you. Again, we're not talking about escaping relationships here. We're not saying I'm going to cut off this person, cut off. No, this is just how you can do relationships better with people who might cause you distress.
And I think, too, in the movement and in the placement, it can happen as you see when Fiona was recalibrating. It can happen in a relatively short period of time, especially if you're able to assess yourself and you're seeing offense is beginning to come. You find yourself in a place where you should not be. Right then, you can move that person. There are some people, I've learned where to place them. And I've learned, okay, when you're behaving this way, okay, I know you just belong here. So I'm not going to react to everything you say, because I understand right now you're just talking. And so if I just responded and reacted to everything you said, when I've learned you and I've understood you some, I realize I can't take everything that you're saying at this point, the way you are right now, seriously. And so in a way to avoid sometimes the situation escalating, you can just place someone there and let them in that room. I think with one thing I like about Apple computers, the way they deal with viruses, they have everything in various compartments. And so if a virus comes into a computer, what I understand, it just stays and it can bounce around in one particular compartment and not spread to the rest of the computer. That's what I think that's what they told me when they sold it to me. So, okay, I heard a person who's a PC person laugh.
Laugh real loud.
All right. So, don't fact check me on that. That's what they told me. Anyway, so you might have people that they might be going on, and maybe they have a virus. You put them in a room, and you let them have their virus in that room, so that your whole being is not affected, and everyone can be safe. And so we talked about being careful.
You're not telling people where they are in your relationship house.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. This is for you. So don't, after this teaching, go to that person and say, I just kicked you out of the living room and now you on the porch.
Right.
No.
And if somebody asks you, just say, that's my own mental tool. It's not for you to know. This is your own personal thing. Because if you start telling people where they are in your house, again, they change from time to time. You can just build unnecessary offense and hurt. And it's not, this is just for you. So don't go about blabbing about it like, where did you put this person in your house? This is just for you. If you want, you can have if you're husband and wife, you can have pillow talk. But even with that, this is really mainly for you. Where are we? And then be careful not to place yourself in other people's houses without their invitation.
That's how you get your feelings hurt.
Be careful not to place yourself in other people's relationship house without their inviting you.
And I think that's going to make more sense as we go on, because then you're going to see some of the behaviors and the characteristics of what is appropriate in certain rooms of the house. You start to learn that, and it's going to be, I believe it's going to be very beneficial for you.
Yeah, so just because there's in a particular spot in your house doesn't mean that you are in the same spot in their house.
So you might be their best friend. You might be the person that they share everything with, and you are their best friend, but they're not your best friend. So that's something that you have to understand. And
because you can get your feelings hurt, because you think, I'm sharing with you all this stuff, you know all my deepest secrets, and they're not sharing anything.
No one made you share. I didn't make you share anything.
Right.
You shared that on your own.
Right.
So I think that's an important. You can't be forced into relationship.
Right.
All right? No one should force you. Another thing that's important to know, and this can save you, can save your life. Just because you are invited into a room in the relationship house does not mean you have to go. You don't have to go there. This is where the free choice that God has given you can be exercised. Just because they say come in to this private space, you can look and assess the situation and says, you know what? I see that room there is stressful. No, I'm straight. I'm good. I'm good right here. We don't need to change it. And so that's something that's good to know. All right? Keep in mind, in all of these various spaces, it does not mean that one room has less love than another.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I love you less because you're in this room. And no, the love is still there, but this is how the love is expressed based on where the relationship is. This is how it is communicated. This is how we can safely do relationship, and everyone can be healthy. All right?
Yeah, I think that's very important as we move along here.
All right, so let's jump in and let's start roaming around the house. Are we ready to do that?
We are, as you can see, the text number is up. So if you want to text any questions as we go along, text WCC and your question to that number, 62953. You can text your question there, and we'll try to get to as many questions as we can.
All right.
So now we're going to start talking through the spaces that we've kind of been referring to in this relationship house. We kind of break it down. Again, this is an art. It's not scientific, but this is, again, a tool to help you do relationships well with people in your life.
All right, so where we start off, when you come into a house, you start off on the porch. And on the porch, it's an open area, and it is free. You have you can view things, you can see things. It's a free place. It's open. This is the place of entry. You can't get into the house unless you go through the porch. And we have problems if we try to, skip the time on the porch and just bring them into the master bedroom. And that's what some people do.
Right.
You bring people into rooms before relationship has been established, before we've learned someplace. And so the porch is a place of observation. It's a place where you determine if you like what you see. This is especially good for, and we're going to get into later on. We're going to speak to singles, but this is a great tool and a principle for those who are single. You don't take a person who belongs on the porch and bring them into the master bedroom. That's one way to mess up your life quickly. The porch is a place of discovery. It's a place where you're able to look and observe on a very surface level. You can have great conversations on the porch. A porch is a place for everybody. This is how you can avoid the impact of toxic relationship, because there are some things that you can discover are not going to get past the porch. You're not going to have a different position in my life because I'm seeing how we do relationship and where we can do it and where it can fit. And so there are some wonderful things that we discover about the porch. And Fiona, maybe you can help me talk about some of these things.
Absolutely. I think when you talk about people who are toxic on the porch is a good place for them. Because you think of the porch is open. So I'm going to give this example. It's a little crude, but I think it will make the point. If you're outside talking and you pass gas, you smell it for a few seconds and it goes on. Now,
nobody knows it.
Nobody
it's
knows.
Open space.
It's open space.
It's free.
Right. But now, if you do the same thing in a room,
in the master bedroom, it can be a problem.
It can be a problem. So this is a good place for people who just like to vent. People who just like to talk stuff. People don't want to hear any input. They just want to come and talk and vent. It's great. It's fresh air. You vent and your stuff moves along with you. You think of smokers. Smokers go outside for a reason.
There's a place for smokers outside.
There's a place. So people who want to vent, who want to do the smoking, we go outside. And you can do all your stuff, all your venting, all your talking, all your whining, all your stuff. Great. The fresh air just, as the wind blows, it just, all your stuff just passes along. But you don't have to take it in. That's what the space is for.
That's not getting into your heart.
Right.
All right? There are all kinds of people that you meet and interact with. There are people who are complaining and this and that. All that stuff, it belongs on the porch. You don't bring that into your house. You don't allow that stuff to get into your spirit. You don't get to that place where now you are physically reacting in a sense that now your body is triggered in such a way that now you can't sleep.
Right.
You don't have a place of peace because you took someone who was supposed to be talking on the porch and you had them talking in a different spot. So unless you want your whole house smelling like smoke, you got to know how to place people where they're supposed to be placed. It's a place of discovery. That's where we can figure things out and figure if we need to take this relationship further or if we need to go deeper. We're able to figure that out. You're able to figure that out on the porch if we can take it into the living room from here. If we can have a closer relationship. And sometimes there are some people, you can do life very successfully on the porch.
Right. There's nothing wrong with the porch. The porch
Wonderful place.
It's a great place for certain people in your life. There's nothing wrong with it. You can love them, enjoy them, look forward to connecting with them on the porch.
For people who are at a distance in your life, that is a healthy place to even resolve conflict. For people who are not, not a part of your inner circle in life and so forth, sometimes you can resolve things on a very surface level out there on the porch.
And it doesn't stay again because the wind is just blowing stuff. You know, it's moving air.
Yeah. No offense. You don't get offended on the porch.
Yeah.
The porch, it's out there, it's in the air. That's where, in the porch, that's where social media is. Social media relationships, those are on the porch. You don't take private stuff and deal with private stuff on the porch. There was one time, there was a situation, because remember, everybody sees what's going on the porch.
Right.
The porch is for everybody.
Right.
And private things are not for everybody. One time there was a situation in which I got to be careful how I communicate this. I know somebody.
You know, a friend.
I got a friend. I have a friend. And this friend had another friend who had a situation. All right?
Okay, I hope you guys
It wasn't their
follow
close
you.
friend, it was a friend of their friends. They had a situation,
Okay.
and it was coming toward them. And there was some discussion that was being had on the porch. And when it became a situation in which this individual realized, wait a second, everyone is looking at me and this situation, all the neighbors are watching, what's going on, maybe we need to take this into the living room. That's what happens sometimes when we start to deal with stuff on the porch. If you would deal with something on the porch, know that everybody is watching.
Right. Sweet.
Yeah, and if it's not something that everybody needs to be watching and participating in and putting their 2 cents in, if you don't want the neighbors looking out the window and looking at you, you need to take that from the porch.
Right.
Doesn't belong there.
So if you're having issue with somebody, Facebook is not the place for that because that's the porch. You don't go and vent all your stuff on Facebook if it's directed to somebody. You can go to that person, inbox them, call them, text them, whatever, but that's not the place for.
Facebook is for people
Yeah.
who you're not really connected with.
Yeah.
There's just everyone is there. Everyone can be viewed. Everyone can be assessed.
And everybody can weigh in.
All right.
With what's happening.
Let's move on because time is not on our side. You move from the porch and then you move into the living room. Talk about the living room for a second, huh?
Now, the living room, if you think of a living room in your house, it's usually the place that's more formal. Everything is in place. Everything is in order. Sometimes, people hardly sit in there. When they do sit, everybody has to behave in that spot. When there are children in the house, children are not allowed to go into the living room because they're going to leave mess in the room. Again, it's more organized. Everything is in order. And this is now a safe place for more discovery in relationships. Because you can come in, it's still organized, it's an organized space, it's a safe place. So we can sit and we can have discussions around particular topics that we share. And again, we're still finding out, do we like each other? Is this relationship, again, this is not just romantic relationships, this is just any relationships that we have. Is this relationship safe? Can we go further in this relationship?
This is a place where we have civil relationships where we're no longer on the porch, but it's a little bit, it has more intimacy than the porch does, but there's still a lot of structure. And this is the place also in which respect is established or discovered. How someone respects your house is going to show up in the living room.
Right.
All right, so if it's still close to the porch, and we can get back to the porch real easy if we need to.
Right.
But you're going to discover in that space, do they respect your house? Are they going to take off their shoes? Are you going to respect the furniture? Are you going to value me as an individual? So that, are we going to respect one another? It's a place where relationship is done, but it's more civil, and it's a little bit more formal but it allows us to go deeper, allows us to discover more. The porch is...
It's a place not designed for mess. You know, as I said,
Yeah.
again, everything is always...
It's clean.
It's clean. Everything is in order in the living room. But we can still ask questions, have slightly more intimate relationships without the fear of this relationship becoming toxic. It's a safe place. So we were even talking about it. Yes, we were talking about where people are in our relationship houses. And there's some people right in my living room. They're in my life. You know, most times they're family. I love them dearly, but they belong in the living room of my life. So when we talk, it's more around interests that we have. Sometimes a little surface, but it's kind of just organized around particular activities that we both enjoy. See, if you think of yourself as watching TV, you're sitting in the living room and you're watching TV together. You are doing relationship around something that you both enjoy. That's the living room. So I see a lot of my family members in my living room, which is nice because I love them dearly. But this is where they are.
There are some healthy boundaries because you understand that with some people, if the relationship goes past a certain point, then there starts to be friction and tension, and it's just not healthy in a deeper place. That's a safe place for the relationship.
And I think it's a necessary place, just as a porch is necessary. The living room, again, is a necessary place as you go further into the house.
Now, as we go further into the house, we go into the kitchen, one of my favorite rooms. When the relationship is in the kitchen, now you're very relaxed, all right? The kitchen is a little bit more messy. It's because life is done in the kitchen. If your relationship kitchen is always spick and span and always perfectly clean, then you're not doing relationship right. You're treating the kitchen like it's a living room. No, the kitchen is a place where you cook things. The kitchen is a place where we sup together. There's a level of trust, I believe, in the kitchen.
Yeah, I think things can get messy in the kitchen. That's just part of the course. When you're cooking, things get messy. But you can clean it up, and there's no permanent damage. It's just part of the process. So conflict can happen in this place. You can figure it out. You can go back and forth, hash it out. At the end of the day, we clean it up and we keep moving. This is kind of where what the kitchen is.
So there's a real safety there. I mean, the mess. If what went on in the kitchen took place in the living room, it would tear the living room up. The living room, the relationship is just not strong enough to handle that level of mess. But the kitchen, it can handle it.
Yeah, you can burn things, you sanitize, you clean it up.
And we're going to eat again.
And life goes, you don't stop eating in the kitchen just because you burned a meal. You clean it up, you go back at it again. You keep at it. There's more grace for mistakes in the kitchen. Again, you're cooking something and you walk away and something burns. Just the more grace. The house doesn't fall apart because you burnt a dish.
So there's some people right now, if you were to have a conflict with that person, the relationship would end. But in the kitchen, you can resolve conflict in a healthy way and you still are drawn closer. Because the relationship is strong. The love has been established in that room where there's a greater level of trust, where it doesn't always have to be smooth. It doesn't always have to be laughing and joking. We eat together. There's a comfort level. We go in the fridge and we share. So if in the kitchen, the relationship, there's some people, if you have something, they have access to it.
Yeah, and they know what you like, they know your taste, your likes and dislikes, and when they bring food into your house, you eat that food, because not everybody eats everybody's food. There's some people who bring you food like, okay, I'm not sure, I have questions, I know where
I'm not sure where
clean,
you've been.
I don't know what, I just don't know.
But then there are people who can bring food into your kitchen. You don't even ask, you don't even think about it. You go and you open it up and you enjoy this food.
You eat off the same plate. You have relationships.
If you're lucky enough to have somebody who let you eat off their plate, some of us are still working on that. But I'm just saying,
You're gonna
not
go
that I
there.
think. I'm just saying we're still working on. So pray for your
Well,
pastor.
theoretically, they should be able to.
Theoretically, they should be able to. So, okay, you just got me thinking. Do we pass the kitchen stage? I should be able to eat off your plate.
Sometimes you can.
I'm just gonna leave that there.
It depends on what it is on the plate.
We can answer that later.
You can eat my vegetables anytime, baby.
I'm just saying. All right.
All right, moving right along.
I know we're
Really?
gonna move past this kitchen quickly, but you're gonna get the picture of where the kitchen is. This
Yeah.
is where you let your hair down. When people come into your house, you're not running into to go put on something proper. Your hair's in rollers or whatever you have on. It's okay. Those are the kind of relationships that you have in
They
the
get
kitchen.
to see the real you.
Right.
All right. Not everybody on the porch. They don't get to see the real you. On the kitchen, you come and you're made up. You're together. I mean, everything you've.
In the living room too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. In the living room, you're together. But in the kitchen, I walk around with my wife beater. I'm in the kitchen.
Right.
The wife beater is a T-shirt. They call them case. You guys are thinking that I'm actually beating my wife. No.
Okay.
But yeah, you're more relaxed in the kitchen. There's relationships that you're more relaxed. You don't have to be professional. You can totally be yourself.
I mean, not that you're not yourself in these other places, but there's
you're a
just
little bit less of yourself.
Less of, yeah.
Yes.
Right, a little bit less of yourself.
A little bit less.
Yeah.
Because there are some people, they can't handle a full-blown you.
Right, that's the truth.
That will scare them. And you don't give people who are not close to you, you don't let all of your defenses down and all the. I mean, there's a way that you're able to do relationship and it be healthy.
Yeah. And this is where you can, they come in, you don't have to tuck your stomach in. If it's
Yep.
out, it's out.
If your
Nobody
stomach
cares.
is out, just leave it out. You don't have to tuck it in. You tuck it in the living room. You tuck it in on the porch because you're making a presentation.
Right. Okay, so let's go to the master bedroom, which is the last room, and then we're going to see if we have time for questions. So this is a final room. Again, this is just an art. You can create your own spaces. I worked with a client one time, and they created a guest bedroom for the mother-in-law. Where do you think your mother-in-law belongs? So she's not quite in the kitchen, but she can go in the guest bedroom. But then the wife is like, but my mother-in-law is knocking on my master bedroom door. She's trying to get into my bedroom, but really she belongs in the guest. So you can put people. Again, this is just something to help you. You can create more rooms in your house. So the master bedroom. This is a place of vulnerability. A place of
Total vulnerability.
total vulnerability.
Kitchen, somewhat vulnerable.
Right.
Not total. Master bedroom, total vulnerability. Keep going.
Okay. Thank you. All right. This is a place where there's little to no shame.
No shame. I'm
No
sorry.
shame.
I couldn't help myself.
Okay. You can trust a person with your life. A person that goes into the master bedroom is someone you can trust with your life. It's somebody who can see your scars, somebody who can see your junk, somebody who you are not afraid to be open and vulnerable with. This is a place where the good, the bad, and the ugly is seen in the room, but it stays in the room.
Yes.
It's a place of rest, a place of peace, a place of dreaming with others. You don't share your dreams with everybody. Some people get to know your dreams, but only a handful of people get to know your most intimate dreams or, things that you're really working on. It's only a handful that get to know.
I mean, and that's sometimes we get frustrated because we're sharing things that we have no business sharing with people that we can't trust. I know of a situation where someone was sharing their dreams, and they were sharing, this is what I want to name my baby when my baby comes. And they're sharing it with someone who they had no business sharing these kinds of intimate dreams with. And so what does that person do? The person hears it and says, yeah, that's a good idea. I think I'll name my baby that. So you want to be careful because there are some things that are not for everybody. And so that's where the master bedroom, those things belong in the master bedrooms.
Yeah, and this is where you can communicate difficult truth. You can hear the truth, and it doesn't jeopardize the relationship. People can tell you about yourself. People can call you out in the master bedroom, and you be okay with it because you know it's coming from a place of love. They're not trying to take advantage of you. They're not trying to embarrass you. They're telling you stuff because they want to help you. So this is, again, the place where you do relationship, whether it's, you can have difficult conversations, and it'll be okay. It can be hard, it can be difficult, you can wrestle with it, but we're going to be okay. After when we walk out this room, we're going to be just fine. This is a place of getting known, a place of, there's a sense of being known. Our children cannot walk into a bedroom without knocking, right? They don't belong in our master bedroom. Though they think they belong in our master bedroom. Though we find stuff that should be in our master bedroom. All right, I'm going to leave the stuff alone.
Okay, I think we just went.
Okay, but they have to knock. But when we go into our master bedroom, we don't have to knock. You know, if I walk in and I'm half dressed, big deal. You know, if he walks in, big deal. Life goes on. That's kind of what happens in this master bedroom space. It's a place where you get to take a shower in your master bedroom, so that when
Nice master bedroom will have a shower in it.
right.
Yeah.
So yes, if it's a master bedroom suite, it's a place where you take a shower. You clean yourself up. This is a place where you learn to have a healthy relationship with yourself. Because if you don't have a healthy relationship with yourself in the master bedroom, when you come out, you're going to be toxic in everybody else's life.
Because you haven't taken time to really deal with yourself.
Right.
This is
Be
a
honest
place.
with yourself.
This is a place where you allow yourself to be seen, and this is a place where you see yourself. This is a place where you wash yourself, so that when you come out and you step out in the living room and in the porch, and you're doing relationship with other people, you're together because you've worked some things out in the master bedroom, in the privacy of your life, in your prayer closet. There are things that you've worked out in yourself, which makes you able to do relationship better with other people because you've dealt with some issues in the master bedroom. You see some things in the master bedroom, so it's so important.
Yeah, and it's probably one of the few final things we'll share is when you invite somebody into your master bedroom prematurely and you try to take them out, just know that there's going to be a lot of tension, in that there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings in that action of removing that person from your master. So separation is difficult. It often results in bitterness, offense, and resentment. Because wait a minute, I thought we were, and you're like, no, I came to my senses. We are something else. We are kitchen relationships, or we are porch relationships. So be careful. Again, we're not saying escape relationships. We don't want you to be so guarded, like, oh, no, I can't be close to that person. No, we want you to do a relationship, but this is how you can do relationships well without being offended or offending other people, hurting other people, because you yourself are in a healthy place.
So when you understand these rooms in your own mind, it helps you how to effectively relate to people, all kinds of people. You're able to relate to them in a healthy way because you know where they are placed positionally in your life, so that they can do relationship more effectively with you, and you're able to do relationship more effectively with them. Remember, the master bedroom, that's a place of honesty, of, we can be totally real with one another, and we don't have to hold back. They know you for who you are. And let me say this.
Anybody have a question?
Yes, sometimes in these areas of the house, maybe there is, the electrical circuit is not working in the master bedroom. That's where you can call somebody. That's where a counselor or a pastor, maybe when they're in that role, they can come and help fix the light's not working in the master bedroom. They can fix that area and get out, but they're not there to stay. And that's what we do when we counsel sometimes, all right, when we're dealing with relationships that are in the master bedroom, okay, we get in there, what's going on here? And this is the area, yeah, this electrical is not working, just paint it out. This room is not functioning relationally as it's supposed to function. The pastor is able to get in there and fix it, or give you the tools to fix it, and get out. Because this is your house, and these relationships are there for you to thrive. And so, we have some questions.
Yeah, yeah. It says, how do you keep people on the porch who belong on the porch without them feeling like you are cold and indifferent?
Yeah, I think, and that's the area where people feel that maybe because they place you in a different place, in a different space in their life, that you are forced to reciprocate. And you cannot be forced into a relationship, but what you can do is communicate love on that level.
Yeah.
You can love that person, and see, the thing about it, the person might not, they don't know that they're on the porch. You know that they're on the porch. They don't know where they are unless
They should never know.
unless you tell them. And so, if this person is on the porch and you're not trying to offend them, learn how to love them on the porch. You can talk to them, but maybe it's on the porch. You know, if I talk to you for more than 10 minutes, it's going to start to get into my system. Sometimes when, okay, I don't want to go beyond that.
I think of it too as relationship with your neighbors that you do on the porch. You talk about all kinds of stuff, you laugh. You know, you enjoy that space with your neighbors for what it is. They may not come into excuse me, they may not come into your kitchen, but you can enjoy that relationship with your neighbors. You can look forward to seeing them, talking about what their kids are doing or stuff like that. So think of it like that as well. Enjoy the relationship fully in that space. Don't feel like the porch is a cold place. No, it's not. You can have fun. You can laugh. You can chat. You can talk about people, talk politics, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just happens there and it stays there.
And again, it's a place of discovery.
Yeah.
And you might have, think about it, as you discover, you might discover, you know what? After loving you on the porch and seeing your response and stuff like that, we're able to do life now in the living room. Because remember, it's a place of discovery. It's a place where you're able to see, okay, do I like this? Can I take this further? You're able to see and learn. So that's what the porch is. It's a place of discovery and learning. All right.
Well, we hope that this was helpful for you. Again, it's a new way of thinking about your relationship. It's a new way of organizing things in your mind. So go home, write it out if you want to, but again, don't share it with anybody. This is just for you. You can share it with your spouse if you want to, but this is for you. All right, so I think we're done.
All right. What's happening this week? Anything interesting going on?
Ladies, we only have a few spots left